Hello, my name is Kiernan Schindler from the LPGA, and I will be serving as your moderator today as we explore what it means to take back your time. Events like these and tournaments such as the one... Hello, my name is Kiernan Schindler from the LPGA, and I will be serving as your moderator today as we explore what it means to take back your time. Events like these and tournaments such as the one currently running at Pinehurst Resort would not be possible without our outstanding partners. We're especially grateful to our partner, Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina, for supporting the LPGA mission to empower female athletes to pursue their dreams of playing on the LPGA Tour. We've been doing this for 70 years. To start things off, I'd like to welcome Reagan Green Pruitt, Vice President of Marketing and Community Relations for Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina. Before I do, we're going to play Blue Cross's North Carolina's newest spot, highlighting their We Resolve campaign. Check it out.
We resolve to do more, to listen, understand, and act, to make healthcare simpler, to nourish our communities, and stand against racism, to see that people get the care they need, now and in the future. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina, we resolve to make healthcare better.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Kiernan, and thank you all for being here for the Carolina Golf Classic Executive Women's Day presented by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina. As Kiernan shared, I'm Reagan Green Pruitt, and I am Vice President of Marketing and Community Engagement at Blue Cross, and we are so excited to be the presenting sponsor of this today. One of my passions in my role, really professionally and personally, is bringing people together, especially when it's a group of powerhouse female leaders like all of you. So whether you are in your favorite pajama pants or your favorite golf outfit or best suit or anything in between, we're just glad that you're here. We hope that you'll make yourself comfortable and are confident that the next 90 minutes are going to be a really valuable use of your time, and you're going to walk away with some key insights to help you, again, both personally and professionally. The We Resolve spot there, I hope that you've seen it across the airwaves of North Carolina so far or already. It really captures why we're here today. It's about being bold. And there is nothing that is going to stand in the way of us all coming together, us focusing on female leadership and female empowerment. You know, you read the news now. I just got a headline about the most recent wildfire, but whether it be the hurricanes, the pandemic, social injustice, earthquakes, you just can't make it up. And so we're thankful for your time. We're thankful for you being here, and we're all here for one common cause. One of the core areas for Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina is to focus on females, whether that be our girls out with Mia Hamm in a soccer clinic learning confidence skills on and off the field. You know, those girls are the future of our state of North Carolina. Whether it be Executive Women Days like this, and we had one a few weeks ago that many of you might have attended with the SAS Championship, focusing on leadership skills. How do we continue to grow and evolve as people and leaders? And the LPGA. So in past 2 years, we've done an LPGA Pro-Am in person. Obviously, this year looks a little bit different. But again, despite all these challenges, we are going to persevere and be here today. And you know, that's really why our partnership between Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina and the LPGA is such a natural fit. So you're going to hear from Roberta a little bit later in partnership with Roberta and her amazing team that's putting on this program for you today. You know, the LPGA marrying physical fitness and these amazing women out there pursuing their dreams, building their confidence. We're going to hear from some of them today, and it's just really inspiring. The last 2 years, I've had the opportunity to personally meet some of these amazing ladies. And again, they're such an inspiration, and the stories of how they got to where they are incredible. So today we're going to focus on time. And so time is a real challenge for all of us. So I know that for me, being, working at Blue Cross and being a mom to my 10-year-old, and I am lunch lady, I am PE teacher, I am check my homework mom, I am everything. So it's a really big challenge to manage time and balance. And actually, that's one of my words. Maybe I'll learn more about that today in the next 90 minutes of, is there really balance? I don't know, but it is a juggling act that we're all in, no matter what balls you are juggling in your life. And we are going to hear from our panel on how they've navigated their time, some ideas for time management, and how you can, take back time management. And so one of my goals today is I resolve to better manage my time, to be a better mom, a better friend, a better boss, a better employee at Blue Cross, and look forward to learning how to do that from our panel and from our speakers. And so with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Kiernan, and we hope you enjoy yourselves, and I'll see you back in a few minutes.
Thank you, Reagan. So our program this morning, as Reagan mentioned, will be broken down into two parts. We'll have the panel with our three executive women, and then we will have a fireside chat. So that will be with Reagan, Roberta Bowman, our Chief Brand and Communications Officer, and special guest, some Metro Tour player, Shasta Avery Hart. So if everyone's ready, let's get started with our amazing executives. So the first executive that I'd like to introduce is Angela Connor. Angela is the founder and CEO of Change Agent Communications, a PR and strategic communications firm in Raleigh, North Carolina. Welcome, Angela. The next panelist joining us today is Michelle Keaton-Barrow. Michelle has 30 years of experience as a commercial and residential real estate professional, and she is CEO of Keaton-Barrow Realty. Hello.
Hello.
Our third and final panelist is Shafika Giaratani. Shafika is a shareholder at one of the largest employment law firms, Advocacy. Also, a fun fact, they are a partner of the LPGA as well. So, all right, so ladies, I'm going to start with Shafika. Shafika, I know from speaking to you and your colleagues that it's been a really busy time for your firm. How have you been able to manage the workload, but still find ways to take back time for you and your family?
Yeah, it has been really a busy time in the law, especially at Ogletree Deakins. We're employment lawyers, so we have been helping employers across the nation to really manage the effects of COVID, whether that's leave issues, issues dealing with illness, and the new laws surrounding COVID-19. So it really has been a busy time, and thankfully, I think for our businesses as well as for our clients that are managing these issues. But as you said, that does bring up issues of how do we manage that as working women, and for myself in particular, as a working mother of three. I will say that it's not easy. When we were preparing for this, I know one of the questions that you threw out to all of us was, how do you feel? And I think of what my middle schooler tells me, which is I have all the feels right now, with just dealing with everything that's going on. Work, all my children are virtually schooling. And so I will start with, it's a challenge. It's a challenge for us all. But what I've tried to do is really see what are the opportunities in this time. And so for us, as I've been virtually working quite a bit and my children have been virtually schooling, really thinking about the practical skill that I can teach them. I threw all my children in the car and we took a 16-hour road trip to Colorado to be together on a horse farm, because parts of my family grew up on a farm and I wanted to show them what it was like to be on the farm. So I found ways to introduce new opportunities during this time. But it certainly, I think, is challenging for many of us, if not all of us.
Well, great. I know we were all very envious about the horse farm, so I've been dreaming of doing that. I don't know if my kids are on board, but Angela, as your own business, as a business owner, one of the things that's very challenging during this time is, especially with this whole theme of taking back your time. When you're a business owner, time is money, and people are trying always to sort of steal your time. They don't realize they're doing it, but as you know, they are. What do you do to that? How do you cope with that?
I think that you have to set boundaries, but first you have to realize that it's actually happening. And I had realized that people were stealing my time, whether, they were just getting away with it or I was allowing it. And I think that, this could apply to anyone, even if you're not a business owner. Think about the times so we go out of our way to make people get on our calendars, whether it's go through an executive assistant or we're very particular about our calendars and we want to manage our time that way. But we'll let anyone text themselves into our day and we'll take 30 minutes and end up giving away so much time that was never scheduled that can make you lose your train of thought, lose exactly what it is that you're doing. So for me, I've just started retraining people, and sometimes I would say it outright and other times I wouldn't answer a text message immediately, or I may answer and say, hey, I'm in the middle of something, I'll get back with you this evening, because I realize the little ways that I will take responsibility that I was allowing people to steal time from me, and then I would have to give it back some other way, whether it was later on in the day when I might want to be spending some time with my children. And it just wasn't working for me. Even with emails, I just thought about all the different ways that people get into our lives unannounced and all the ways we allow that to happen. And that's something that's very easy to overlook. So I've been encouraging people to take control in that way. It's just one small way.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just hard to say no, right? Especially when you're a nice person that's warm and social. So it does take some doing. Michelle, your business, obviously, real estate has really been interesting the last 6 months. It's so reliant on that personal interaction. What have you done to adjust your business to keep yourself on that successful track?
Okay, we've had to take several different pivots. So one, you're right, we can't do any home buyers workshops, so we've been doing those virtually. I usually meet people by going to events. Well, we don't have those either, so I can't pass out cards. So one of the things that I have done is I've played more golf. And so I have probably met more people since the pandemic has started than I did last year. So that's really working out for me. It's been very interesting because I hired two new real estate agents right when the pandemic started. So I had to get them trained, and both of them, fortunately, do have some properties under contract. Real estate agents in North Carolina, or at least in Wake County, we've been essential the entire time, because if you think about it, when people have to move from leases, you have to move from an apartment, you have a corporate relocation or something like that, you have to do it. So I took a big step for realtors, and I made a video and I said, look, it's safe for you to get out here and show a house. I showed them with my mask, my hand sanitizer, got somebody to pose as my client and show how we wipe down everything. And I was really proud of that, because a lot of people took my lead and they're like, oh, well, we can sell houses. It is safe.
Yeah, and I noticed your LPGA amateur shirt. So how have you been utilizing that to meet some people?
Oh, okay. So I used to play golf a lot 20 years ago. So I got back into it since the pandemic. So what I did, I joined the LPGA amateurs, but I joined 3 chapters, not just one. So I joined Triangle, Charlotte, and Cape Fear, Wilmington. So I'm playing a lot of golf. I've even got 2 brand new buddies, and we play golf every year. And I would not have met those ladies if I had not joined this organization. And I've actually gotten some business. So this is very exciting.
You have a lot of energy, I can tell. Joining 3 chapters, most people would be afraid to join one. So that's amazing. You're all in. I love it. Shafika, one of the things that you had said in one of our earlier chats, you said it's not always easy for everyone, but harder for some. What do you mean by that statement?
Yeah, as we were talking, one of the things we talked about is it's a challenging time, but I think that there's a lot of different circumstances that make it more challenging for all different types of individuals. I know, for example, for me, I'm a single mom with 3 children, so that is certainly an additional challenge that I face, and I know some of you out there as well. And I think just the challenges of work are different. Not everyone can work virtually. Everyone has different people that they're taking care of and different challenges. And one of the things I think is for all of us to be compassionate with each other, really knowing and understanding that right now, that we're all in different circumstances. We're all, I think I saw this and I really liked it, which is we're all in a storm, but we're rowing in different boats. And it's affecting us differently. And certainly we've seen that from my job in the workplace, but even personally, I've seen that it's affecting each of us differently.
I love that imagery. Definitely have all been in a boat for sure. And Angela, you call yourself a risk taker. How has that helped you, do you think, during the pandemic? And what could you tell our audience about just embracing that part of them, or if they're afraid of it, maybe going towards that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's never a good time or the best time to do anything. Think about how you say, "Oh, when is the best time to have a second baby?" Well, there's never a perfect time to do that. You just do it because it's just never right. You just jump right in and figure it out. You don't know how you're going to make things happen, but you do. I think having a mindset of, if not me, then who? That's one way that I like to look at things. And to be completely honest about, taking risk and jumping out and starting my own business, I thought a lot about the people throughout my career who had bet on me and won big. A lot of people, whether it was someone who had given me a promotion, who put me over a new program or a new department and bet on me and really reap the benefits. Not saying I didn't reap benefits too, because of course I did, but they did too. And so I thought, well, I think I need to take a page from their books and bet on myself. And so during this time, I mean, I had done this before, but I've even done a little bit more by trying new things and just not being afraid because, I mean, what you can be told yes or no, right? You get none of the things you don't ask for. So I think just having a certain philosophy about the way you go about things and having some confidence in yourself. And even if you just take it from the confidence that others have had in you. Again, I've watched so many people have great things happen to them from betting on me. So I just decided, well, what if I bet on myself? Maybe even bigger and better things can happen for me.
Yeah, double down, right?
Yeah.
Michelle, in your business, obviously, everything relies on you and your attitude because you have a lot of people looking to you. How do you keep yourself up? We have discussed how sometimes it's not always rosy. We don't always feel great about, every day. But as resilient people, we've really kind of embraced that, okay, I got to pick myself up and keep moving. What do you do to do that?
Well, I jump out of the bed every morning and say, "Hey, I'm still here." And I'm just an encouraging person. So my goal in my life is to encourage, empower, and enhance the lives of others. So that just is in everything that I do. And I'm a philanthropist. I believe in giving time, talent, and treasure back to people in any way, gift, or form that I can. So it's not always just money. And again, I have agents that work for me. So I have to keep them encouraged, my family encouraged. So that's what it's all about. I'm just positive energy. I share it.
Love it. And Shafika, could you give us, you gave us a little taste of the whole, you moved to a horse farm. Could you tell us a little, a little bit of the day in the life of, you and your kids on this farm? Like what's been the highlight? I know you're not a huge nature buff, but you've sort of embraced it. So tell us a little bit about that and how that's helped you kind of level yourself up maybe.
Yeah, as I was saying before, one of the things that I've done with myself and my children is to realize that within every challenge is also an opportunity. And so that's as I thought of it, us sitting home all together, virtually schooling and working was we have an opportunity to do this somewhere else. And I've never been an outdoors person, but over the summer during COVID, I decided to get a kayak and really enjoy nature. I'd never been in a kayak, but me and my children got in a kayak and we loved it. And that kind of started our idea of this is a time where there is the possibility to explore new things, and we've enjoyed it. I never thought I would get in a car and drive 16 hours with my children, 2 of which are in elementary school, and my dog. I didn't think I would do that, or do it and go to a horse farm, but we really loved it. being in nature, having them learn how to shovel horse output was good teaching for them. And just, everyday things, kind of getting back to some of the basics of life. And for me, I think what I always do to ground myself is really just focus on the perspective of everything, which is, I'm healthy, my children are healthy, they are loved, I have a place to go that I love every day, and those are the things that are important. And the rest is really small stuff, and not to sweat that small stuff.
Yeah, that's great advice. One of the things, Angela, that you said is, you had mentioned that, yeah, you have related to people that are having hard times, and all of you actually have done stuff for your community where you've reached out and helped people behind you. Tell me something that you've done that really, like maybe a specific example of when you've reached back, helped someone, and, really seen the difference in their lives during this pandemic.
I think that, I have a strong network of women through a conference that I had before. And then just because I keep in touch with everyone all the time, I like to, I've had instances where I've reached back to some people that I know have been out of work because I know this is a very hard time and it's not necessarily the thing that people are talking about on LinkedIn, or, you're looking and you're seeing all this greatness that's happening to everyone. And, there's stories of people who are like you and experiencing that. So what I've tried to do is go to people who are having trouble and maybe connect them with someone who I know likes to help people who are going through transitions. So just making those direct connections, or even just jumping on a virtual coffee with someone and talking it out, because I realized that during this time, especially early on, people really wanted to be heard. So I hosted a shared virtual lunch and just had a lot of women come on, and we talked about what wasn't so great. And it wasn't to be some sort of Debbie Downer, but it was to say, look, not everyone's pivoting and making PPE and finding new streams of income. There are people who are really down. And so I made a safe, open space for people to talk about that. And what happened is women started lifting each other up and saying, me too. And I'm experiencing that. And people didn't feel alone. And so it just made me feel really good to be the catalyst for that. And all it was, hey, do you guys want to have a shared virtual lunch? And I'm trying to keep that up, even in just one-off emails to people, because this is a really hard time. And again, that's not the story you're necessarily seeing. So if you are experiencing something that's not in the mainstream, you feel like you're an outlier and you're by yourself. And I just have a lot of empathy for people who are struggling. I mean, life isn't easy for me. I mean, I have to hustle a little bit harder. I mean, I've had some client loss and some client struggles, but I don't know what quit means. So there's nothing to do but keep going. So I'm going to be doing this because I don't know what else I would do. But I think it's important to talk about those things with people and let people talk about the realities of their lives.
Yeah, I have 3 sisters, and one of my sisters always says social media is the highlight reel. So if you're believing that, if you're believing everything's going, just rosy for everyone, you are watching the highlight reel.
Yeah.
So, Michelle, given that you are a golfer, I wanted to ask you to just sort of give advice. I think golf is people are very afraid of trying and starting golf. Have you found that, when you invite people to come, they're a little afraid of it, and how have you helped them overcome that and just get out there and do it?
Well, I just remind everyone that, number one, everybody's not a good golfer. Number two, all men are not necessarily great golfers, trust me. It is a great way to get out there and to learn something, to be outside, to take your time, to focus, concentrate. It has saved me during the pandemic. I'm really serious, because I get out. I don't have to think about anything. I don't take my phone. My children are older, so I don't have to worry about that right now. But it's a great way to meet people. I have met people over the years that I would never have met if I hadn't played golf. And I've gone to lots of tournaments. And I'll tell you what, there'll be 144 golfers and one female. Who are they going to remember? They're going to remember me the next day. So the key about it is, just don't be afraid. Just get on out there. It's really not that difficult of a game. And I don't know how much everybody knows about it. I'll talk real quickly. But just for instance, you hit the ball into the green. It might be 300 yards, okay? But you can hit it halfway there straight. And then on the green, and the men are still in the woods or in the sand looking for their balls. That sounds really weird to say, excuse me. But they're looking for their golf balls. But it's an excellent way. I advise it for anyone. At least give it a try. And it's not something like you have to be really muscular. You just need to stay focused and have the ability to concentrate and love being outside.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Being outside can sometimes just change your whole mood, can it?
Yeah.
All right. So sadly, we're coming to a close on our panel, but what I would love to do is maybe just have one thing. You've got a lot of women that are listening and men. Is there one little tidbit that you might have to inspire those that are listening right now? I will start with Shafika. Let's just go Shafika, Angela, and then Michelle.
Yeah, I guess I'll end kind of where I started, which is just keeping a good perspective on things. I think is so important during this time, and knowing that there are opportunities even where there are challenges. And I love what was said, which is, I don't understand, or I don't believe in quitting. I love that, so I'm going to steal that, and I'm going to use it in different places, because I think that's a good place to end as well.
I think I will share the mantra of which I live my life, and that is simply do not go where the path may lead, go where there is no path and leave a trail. Make things better for someone behind you, show someone else what to do. And, look, when there's a fork in the road, go straight. That's what I do.
I love that. Angela, you're always cracking us up. I love it. Michelle?
Okay. My whole thing is make sure you have a vision, and your vision is possible. And one of the things that I'm making sure that I have been doing during the pandemic is to call people every day. Call somebody, check on them, hear their voice. Don't text them, don't email them. We're in this together, and we can help each other together to get through it. So reach out and touch someone. Very old cliche, but do it.
Well, I just wanted to thank all three of you. You have been amazing. I've seen a lot of comments from our audience just saying thank you for your insights and inspiration. Sometimes it just feels good to hear that other people are going through the same things. And then also I just wanted to thank you for everybody who's listening, for joining us for this, the Carolina Classic Executive Women's Day panel. We're going to say goodbye to our panelists now, and we're going to welcome Reagan, Roberta, and our special guest, Shasta Avery Hart, our Symetra Tour player.
Great, thank you,
This
Kiernan.
is for every girl
and every boy who's been picked on and doesn't fit in.
For everyone that has been laughed at, stared at,
Pointed at or ignored.
People can be cruel, but they can also be kind. I learned what makes me different makes me stronger, and true confidence comes from within. I'm Haley Moore, and I drive on.
Roberta, that gives me the goosebumps every single time. I mean, what an inspiration she is. And that entire campaign, which I know we're going to hear more about, but wanted to just go ahead and kick us off. And I have the great honor to introduce Roberta Bowman, who is the Chief Brand and Communications Officer with the LPGA and is on the Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina board. So we're so lucky to have her. And I tell you, ladies, Roberta has been one of those people in my career, again, both personally and professionally, that I have just learned so much from. And she has been such an inspiration. And I admire her drive, her kindness, and just being such an impactful leader and genuinely having a passion for women, for athletes, and charging us ahead as females, and charging the LPGA ahead. So I've had the great honor to work alongside Roberta, and just glad that you're here. So Roberta, tell us a little bit more about your journey to the LPGA in your new role. So I'm gonna hand it off.
Yeah, thank you so much. And Reagan, those comments mean a lot to me. If my mother were here, she would say, just don't say a word and leave now, because whatever you say doesn't stand up to that. But it really is so wonderful to be here today typically this meeting is at the Pro-Am supporting the Q Series for the LPGA. And Blue Cross North Carolina has the distinction of having the only all-female Pro-Am that we experience over the course of the year. So we hate we're not playing golf, but boy, it's good to be together. And I also have to say, what an amazing panel that was. And Michelle could be sitting here with us talking about golf and business, and Angela, her comments about betting on herself and doesn't know how to quit. I think we're going to be hearing some of that from Shasta as well. So back to your question, I tell people I am now completing the second year of my second accidental career. My business career was with Duke Energy in Charlotte. Many of you are my friends and neighbors. I retired there in 2012. I was living the good life of retirement. I was doing some board work. I was doing some consulting. One of the boards I had the privilege of serving on, beyond Blue Cross in North Carolina, was the LPGA board. And when it came time for my service there to end, I went back to my normal life of the retiree, and my phone rang one day. And it was Commissioner Mike Wan. And he said to me, "Roberta, I have a job that only you can do." And depending upon who you ask, I said no anywhere between 2 and 6 times. And yet here I am. I now have the pleasure of serving as the LPGA's Chief Brand and Communications Officer. That entails everything from our TV contracts to the beautiful creative spot that you just saw. So let me say just a bit about that video. That's from our Drive On campaign. And the young woman that was featured in that, Haley Moore, was actually competing to win her card at this event last year. I chose that from the 20 or 30 that we've already produced for 2 reasons. One, because it has been the most viewed drive-on spot that we have produced. Her message around anti-bullying, I think, permeates age and gender. And secondly, we've had this opportunity to watch Haley grow into herself, not just as a tour professional, but as a leader in her community. And I'm very proud to say that not only is Haley being an outstanding rookie on the LPGA Tour, but she has just announced the creation of the Haley Moore Foundation, focusing on opportunities for boys and girls who may be experiencing bullying in their lives and giving them the confidence, the outlook, and the inspiration to achieve their goals. So I use that as an example. That's the kind of work that I get to do every single day. And when you look at Duke Energy, you look at Blue Cross North Carolina, you look at the LPGA, what those 3 entities have in common is they are all purpose-driven organizations. They're doing things that are really important. And I have to say, in many ways, we're the underdog as well. So for somebody who sort of runs to challenge, these are all opportunities that I couldn't refuse.
So Roberta, tell us more. I've had the opportunity to meet Haley, and what a fantastic individual, an amazing golfer. Tell us more about the Drive On campaign. This is what I do. I love marketing and advertising, sports marketing. And again, with my 10-year-old Harper, who is the love of my life. And we get out on the golf course, as you know, every once in a while. So Harper will get her juice box, and I may or may not get a cold beer, and we'll go play 9 holes. And that's become something that we really enjoy. But, really watching her get that confidence to step up to the tee and know that she can hit it. It may not be a great shot, but that she continues on is, again, something that I love to see in our girls and females. And that's something that we've seen in the Pro-Am in the past. As you mentioned, we have people that have dusted off their golf clubs that have been in their garage. Some of them have been quite interesting. It's like they rolled them in from the past, which is awesome. Or maybe they don't have clubs at all, or maybe they play every day. And again, seeing these women come out and step up to that tee and take that first shot, is really what it's all about, and what Drive On is grounded in. So tell us more about the campaign, where it came from, and where you're headed with it.
Yeah, thanks so much. And I love those stories. So the first assignment that I had to lead when I joined the LPGA was a brand refresh. We are a 70-year-old entity. We are the longest running women's professional sports organization in the world. And like any entity that has evolved and succeeded over time, it was the opportunity in the moment to take a look at our brand positioning. And as you know, as a marketer, you don't fabricate a brand, you let it reveal itself. And as we looked back at our history, as we talked to our players like Shasta, our members who are also teaching club professionals, what has bound us together over these 70 years is this incredible perseverance, focus, hard work, commitment. And that's what we call Drive On. And so it isn't just about golf, and it certainly isn't for women. It's that don't quit that Angela was talking about. And it gives voice to what each of these athletes and players has at their very core that makes them commit to being the best that they can be, whether it's on the golf course or off. Just to say a special word about golf, and I know we'll have Shasta tell us her experience and what she sees as well, but golf in many ways is among the most empowering of sports. I think Michelle said it earlier, but it's also the most exposing. When you are out there, there is nowhere to hide. And it teaches you a lot about humility. It teaches you a lot about perseverance. It teaches you a lot about taking your bad lies and making the most of it. And all of those are really important life skills and business skills. One last comment here. If Michelle wasn't convincing enough, I had an opportunity to hear during the COVID pandemic from Ken Frazier, CEO of Merck Pharmaceuticals. And he was talking at the time, these were the highlights and the headlines of this very difficult few months that we've been through in the pursuit of social justice and racial equality. And the question he was asked at CNBC is, why are there not more Black board members? And he thought for a moment and he said, you know what? We are working really hard to develop great business acumen around all of our leaders. But board service, CEO positions, a lot of that depends on your social networks. And social networks, communications, relationships are the currency of golf. So all the more reason for everyone here today to give it a try.
So Roberta, speaking of Drive On, we got a question from the audience about how do you measure success of the campaign?
Yeah, we do it through a couple of different ways. One is your traditional marketing metrics and our social impressions and things of that sort. The softer way, though, is from the companies that are raising their hands and saying, I want to be part of that. And over the past couple of years, we have really raised our game in terms of the level of sponsorship and engagement that we've had from leading companies, most particularly companies like Blue Cross North Carolina. One more really important statistic, and if you hear me say nothing else today, hear me say this. Virtually every company that I know says that one of their core values is diversity and inclusion. It's on a nice poster or it's part of their core vision. We did a study of companies' investments in corporate sponsorships. And here's what the numbers tell you. 93 cents out of every dollar that companies invest in corporate sports sponsorships are invested in men's sports. 7 cents on the dollar goes to women's sports. So Reagan, I've got to say Blue Cross North Carolina is in very elite company. You are, in this case, the leaders of the pack as well. The good news is that club is expanding. The challenging news is it's not happening fast enough. So happy to answer questions as we proceed today, but we've got a fabulous guest in Shasta Avery Hart. Can't wait to bring her in.
Yes, and thanks, Roberta. And, we wear that with pride. It really is a focus. And just being completely transparent, I've been at Blue Cross for 12 years. And, over the course of the years, we've more and more invested in female sports. But I tell you, it's challenging. There's not that many opportunities. So when you look at, collegiate sports, it's very difficult where so much focus is put on, the men's sports, and there's not as many even opportunities to invest in for the women's athletics. So that's a core focus for us, and you all have really educated us on that, and we'll continue to work and hopefully really change the game like you are. So these conversations with colleges, it really becomes in on, hey, we want to focus on field hockey, and we want to focus on women's soccer and otherwise. So we'll keep reporting back and appreciate all that you've done with that. I do want to tell a quick story before we turn to our special guest, Shasta. And I shared this at the Pro-Am last year, so some of you all may remember this, but I've gotten several questions of how did I get into golf? And so, I never was a golfer. I played field hockey. I loved playing field hockey. You would say field hockey is a lot like golf. My golf instructor would say it is an absolute disaster. It is not. So the interesting point I want to make is I was invited to so many golf sponsorships, or golf tournaments, I should say, in my role at Blue Cross. And every single time I either A, turned it down completely, or B, I would hand it off to my male counterpart, who would then go and play. And finally one day, and those of you all who know me will know, I'm like, no, I'm going to say yes. And I'm going to be the worst person out there, but I'm going to say yes. So I went to Pine Needles for a 7-day golf academy. I had bleeding blisters, and I came out of that golf academy and I said yes to my very first golf tournament. Nobody got hit in the face with a ball. Everyone survived. And I've been playing ever since and saying yes. So I would encourage all of you who are sitting on the fence going, I'm not good enough, I don't know. I'm telling you, those guys don't really know how to play well either, most of them. So get out there and live fearless on the course.
Yeah,
okay,
I just
so
have to. Can I add one other thing?
Absolutely.
And Michelle said it well. They are real. Not everybody is a very good golfer, but I just wanted to encourage anyone out there who may think that they're a little too old to start. There is no such thing. I tell the story. I took up golf late in life as well. I was raised as an elite swimmer. And what I like to remind people of is I was in the business world for 35 years. Not once did anyone ever say to me, let's just get together on a Saturday and swim a couple of laps. Golf is really the currency of business and relationships. So our goal today is to really inspire some of you that are tempted to try to take that first step. So thanks for letting me share that, Reagan.
Great. Okay, Roberta, one final question before we let you go, tied to our time management topic. What are some key insights that you could give the group on time management? Obviously has been something that you have done well in your career. So anything that you would share with us on things to focus on?
Two things. One is, one of the questions I always ask in determining how I invest my time is, what are the things that only I can do? It helps me really prioritize in terms of where I'm investing my time. And secondly, someone once taught me that dust has no emotional value. So it's okay if your house is a little bit dusty or you want some help keeping your house clean. Use your time where you can, invest in yourself, do the things that only you can do.
Great. Thank you, Roberta, very much for those insights. Okay, so we are going to transition over to our special guest, Shasta Avery Hart. So just a little background on Shasta. So she is a pro golfer on the Symetra Tour. I am fascinated by her story, by the way. Wait till you hear this. And we talked on Thursday or Friday, Shasta, I think it was. She hails from Flint, Michigan. And in 2011, she earned her LPGA Tour card at 25 years old. She was the fourth African American woman to earn her LPGA Tour status, which is awesome. In 2014, she said, I think I want to step into the corporate space and give that a shot. So she stepped away from her golf game for a little bit and became a tax associate at PricewaterhouseCoopers. And I think that is such a bold move to say, and again, she's going to tell you more about this, but to say, hey, this is what I want to do, and this is what my heart's telling me, and I've got a plan, and I'm going to go pursue that. 3 years later, so she was at PwC for 3 years, and she decided to go back to the LPGA Tour. Again, bold move. I love that. And again, today she plays on the Symetra Tour and is just crushing it. And so excited to learn more about her story, how she manages time. I also am excited to share with you all that as part of the presenting sponsor of the Carolina Golf Classic, Blue Cross gets to select 2 spots, and we get to provide a sponsor invite to play in the Carolina Golf Classic. So we offered her the opportunity to play in Pinehurst this week, and the good news is she said yes. So congratulations on that, Shasta. We're so excited. We hope that you all will tune in and cheer her on her journey for the Carolina Golf Classic. So with that, I'm going to kick it off with our first question for Shasta. There she is. Hey, Shasta.
Hi. How are you doing?
Red. I like that. Okay, so I'm going to kick off with our first question. Thank you so much for your time. We know that you are busy and you're flying all over the place. Hope you're wearing your mask, staying safe and healthy. So you've been playing since you were 7 years old. So tell us about your journey. I mean, how do you start playing golf at 7? What's your journey been like since then?
So my dad is an avid golfer, and he was in politics when I was very young. And so as an outlet, he would just go and to the golf course and, hit some balls, maybe play 9 holes. And when he had to babysit me, he would take me with him. And so I was around that environment around 6, 7 years old. And so officially he got me a set of pink golf clubs with like a pink bag, pink grips, pink balls, tees, everything. And so that obviously drew me in even more because that was my favorite color at the time. And all he would do is be like, watch daddy swing. And so for me, that was the way I learned, was watching him. And that's fine that I actually learned that way just by watching others do things, and I can, replicate. And so with that, I just had a lot of fun. We go to a field and he'd have a shag bag and I would just hit like little shots and then we go shag them. And those were a lot of my summers until it got to a point where I was like, okay, I want to play some junior tournaments. And so my dad signed me up for Flint Junior Golf and Flint Inner City Golf. And in those programs, I was able to get some competition in and just learn a lot about the game, and also play alongside some peers that are also in the same position of just learning about the game and trying to see if they really like it or not. And so by middle school, I kind of started to lose interest in golf, and I fell in love with volleyball. And I was like, no, this is my sport. Because it was like that sport that you can be aggressive with. You can yell, scream, jump, do all of that. And I felt that was something that I needed because basketball just really wasn't I just couldn't go that direction, even though I'm tall. I always get those questions all the time, like, do you play basketball? And I'm like, I know how to play, but I chose not to. So anyways, my mom helped motivate me to get back into golf. And by the time freshman year of high school arrived, I asked to get a swing coach because I was like, Dad, I really want to take this serious. And so I began to play volleyball and golf, and then we were just traveled throughout the state of Michigan, did a lot of local events, and eventually some national tournaments. And that was my journey until I went to Jackson State University on a full ride scholarship.
Full ride. Okay, so big question. Do you still have the pink grips?
No.
Do you have pink in your color scheme in honor of your dad and his awesome babysitting
No, I
activity?
don't. I had that stuff. I should have saved it.
It really has always been golf. Golf has been your passion, and you knew that as volleyball, about all these different, sports came up. That was your thing, and you knew that.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I mentioned this earlier, and I think that it is fascinating and just such a bold move. You'd made the decision to leave the game and move into corporate America and really pursue your background in accounting, and you became a tax associate. So tell us, like, what led up to that decision? How'd you make that decision?
So my rookie year on LPGA tour, that kind of began the roller coaster ride for me. And I was playing while I was injured. And that was something that I would say that was a regret. I wish I would have just taken a medical leave. But at that time, I was just like, no, like, this is my opportunity. I'm going to take advantage of it. And from there, I just wasn't scoring well. I couldn't practice like I needed to. And I felt like that was the point where I started going up and down. Every year is up and down. And it got to a point where in 2014, I was so frustrated with my finances and my scores that I just decided, you know what? Okay, we got to go back to plan B. I hated acknowledging that, but that was something that my father and I discussed, because he was just like, well, what are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. And so there was like a few months where I just sat and did nothing because I didn't know what I wanted to do until I finally was like, okay, let me go on ahead and tap into that accounting degree. So I reached out to one of my contacts that's like a mentor, like a father figure. And I said, Mr. Peck, I need your help. I need to see if I can transition into corporate America. And I've never I've had like jobs of like working at a golf course, but nothing where I'm interviewing for a professional job. And so he helped me get an executive coach to help me learn how to interview properly. And then I interviewed with Ernst & Young and Price Waterhouse. And so obviously worked out with Price Waterhouse. I was able to still stay in Florida. And so I moved to Tampa and came in the tax department. And that was a interesting transition. The administrative task was really hard for me to adjust to, because you have to remember to constantly check your emails and you have your billing codes, and it's just all of that stuff. That was something I wasn't used to, but it caught on quickly. It just was overwhelming at first.
I think Roberta has a question. She may be muted. I know whatever she's saying is amazing and brilliant.
There we go. So this is a two-part question, Shasta, and that is, what is it about being a professional golfer helped you when you took the accounting role? And what about being in the accounting role helps you now that you're back in professional golf?
So with going into corporate America, being a professional golfer, I felt as though I learned, discipline and accountability and responsibility and critical thinking, and that really that was able to help me uh, leap a little quicker than I would have expected. And so from that transition back to professional golf, I did a lot of maturing. I learned a lot about really valuing relationships, um, and building a strong network, and keeping in contact with people that you've met along the way, and just remembering to thank them and check on them and see how they're doing. And being able to manage all of my responsibilities and do it in a professional manner, a more professional manner, I should say. But those transitions right there really helped me get to the point of where I'm at today.
And I have to say, you're a fabulous ambassador and advocate for our tours. So thank you for all you're doing. Let's help folks that are watching today really get a sense of what's it like to be a professional player on the LPGA or Symetra Tour. They see pictures of private jets on the PGA Tour and things of that sort. That's not your world. What is your world like as a professional golfer on tour?
So, I mean, that's possible. That can happen. You just got to have a lot of money to do that and travel fancy and just, have a lavish experience while playing on tour. But realistically, what it's like for a lot of us ladies is nothing close to that. A lot of budgeting, a lot of reaching out for more support, whether that's finding, a coach that really works for you and that can help you elevate your game to the highest potential that you can possibly experience. And also finances, like you just said, the jets and all of that good stuff. That's something that is very important in order to even play professional golf. It's like you're a small business and you need upfront capital. And so if your budget for the year, let's just say we put it at 100K, well, before your season, the goal is to be hustling and finding opportunities, sponsors, partnerships that will be able to meet that budget. So that's your expenses all year. And so now you can kind of travel a little easier. You can breathe a little bit, and you're like, okay, well, hopefully you make all your cuts on tour, or you even win or something. But sometimes you don't make the cut. Maybe you miss it by a shot, and now you're in a hole anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500. And now if you have your expenses met for the year, then it's a little bit easier. But if you don't, that's when you start breathing a little harder and your heart's starting to race, because you're like, okay, like I'm in the hole, and I may not be playing again until 2 weeks from now, and you have rent to pay, and you have your auto insurance and your car payments, all that stuff. So I would say, at least from that perspective, that's really what our life is like. And then also, too, you try to travel with certain players that you get along with and try to cut down on costs, and you just managing your time because you're going to have engagements outside of your competitive rounds, and you want to entertain the sponsors and doing interviews and panel discussions. And so all of that is something that everyone shares in the professional golf world. But for women, it really boils down to the finance side of it, where there's a huge gap.
Great. I'll toss it back to Reagan in just a moment, but let me lift out from what you said just so that folks really get that picture. You get no salary. You essentially eat what you kill, to use a very crude analogy. And the idea of playing golf to pay my rent just gives me the chills. So we are so respectful of what you and others are doing to really pursue your dreams. It is, as Angela said, a huge bet on yourself. Reagan?
Thank you, Roberta. I want to build on a theme that I think we're hearing today on mentors, relationships, and the importance of relationships across your career, across your life. One of the questions that we just got from Paige in the audience: what is the most memorable thing the coach told you when you were preparing for your interview? So Shasta, you mentioned getting back into the corporate world. You met with a coach on the interviews, how to prepare. What were some of the key tips that your coach provided for the interviews?
So the one that actually stood out the most was focusing on your core competencies. And I had no idea what that was. It's a shame to say that, but I just didn't know. And don't get me wrong, when I went to business school, like I'm at Jackson State, I was accounting, had classes where how to interview in regards to your appearance and really what to say in particular. But really, it's easier said than done, because when you're walking to interview, you're so nervous, and you're focused on is, are they going to like me? Do they think I'm a good fit? And Coach Barry made sure that I focused on those core competencies, because that was my my card. That was what I had, because I had no other prior experience. And the banking on the professional golf too, I think that helped, because they understand that athletes do transition really well into another professional space.
And so they were very excited for you to go on back on LPGA tour, but sad to see you go, I'm sure, at PwC. So we've got nearly 200 women, maybe it's more than 200 now, on the call. We've all had points in our careers and our lives where we have to make really big, bold decisions. And I've seen a lot of things in the comments: resilience, grit. What guidance would you give to the ladies out there today trying to determine whether they make that big move? I remember on our call I said, hey, I'm going to make a big move, and you're like, whoa, just make sure you have a plan. I'm not leaving Blue Cross for Bird, I promise. But when you think about it, it's like, oh, I want to do this, and Shasta very respectfully said, make sure you have a plan, because that's what I did. So tell us about your plan, and guidance for others on the call considering making a big, bold move.
Okay, so what happened leading up to that? The first year at PwC, it was fine and dandy. I mean, I'm getting a check every 2 weeks. I'm have a regular life. I can pre-plan vacations. I can go on vacation. Let's start there. I can actually go on vacation, and just really have that normalcy that I really didn't experience with golf at that point in my life. So it wasn't until let me see, 2016, May of 2016, a former LPGA tour player, Anya Alvarez, called me. Was like, "Listen, we need to go to the ESPN Sports Women's Summit up in Chicago. Get your tax refund check and buy a flight." And so I was like, "Okay, I'm game. I'm in." And we had at that time partnered together to do a sports women podcast. So we were just on trying to get recruits, if you will, for our podcast. So when we're in the audience and we're seeing all these fabulous female athletes, and we're talking about their stories and how successful they are, and even just Olympians. And I sat there and I was happy for them, never envious of anybody, but there was something in my gut that made me ill in a way. And so I excused myself and I went to the restroom, and I was just like, I'm feeling like anxiety, like what's going on? And I realized I'm not done playing. Like this cannot be the end of golf for me. And I kind of looked a little ahead and I said, if I'm like 60, 70 years old and I'm sitting outside on the porch reflecting on life, I never want to feel what I just felt sitting in the audience. And it was regret. And that's ultimately what it was. So I walked back and sat next to her and I said, I talked to you afterwards. And so when we were, heading back to our living spaces, I said, I can't do this with you. I'm going to go play golf. I don't know when, but I got to do it. I feel it in my heart. It's there. It makes sense of why I haven't been able to sleep at night. I haven't been able to make a commitment to getting my CPA license, to even, I was exploring wealth management at some point, and I just couldn't make a commitment. And that was why. And so she said she was all for it, supportive. And I said, you deserve a partner that's fully vested, that's 100% there. And so we parted ways gracefully. And I didn't set a date though. I just was like, I know I'm going to do it. So I set the intention. And so as the years progressing, I'm still saving my money. I've paid off some debts that I had accumulated from golf. And by March of 2017, I put in my resignation letter. And I told, I had conversations with my parents and I said, hey, if there's any point that I'm like really struggling, can you help me? And they were like, yes, we got you. Like we have you, we have your back. And so the plan was to just get back to practicing on a regular basis and and kind of just getting used to that competition again. So I signed up for some state opens and things like that just to kind of get the competitive juices flowing. But what I would say is if you feel something like in your heart and it just won't leave and it seems like it just follows you everywhere you go, you're having these sleepless nights and you're sitting here thinking, what if 30, 40 years from now, I feel like I didn't do my purpose. I didn't live my purpose and what God intended for me to do. And I don't know exactly my full purpose. I know it's in golf. And I know that once I left, I felt a sense of relief. That's how I knew. I was like, okay, I might be stressed a little bit here and there with money, but I know ultimately I'm happy because I know that this is the pathway that God has for me, and that I'm not going to be neglected and abandoned, and that God's going to figure it out for me. So that was how I knew, and I feel like if you feel it, and you just have to be like, okay, here's what I'm going to do and have like you just gotta have a little stash. Like I'm not saying you quit your job and you have no money. Don't do that. I would just say for sure you definitely have to fulfill what's in your heart because we're only here once. And I believe just living your life to the fullest, and that was really what I took with me when I left.
All I can say is wow. What incredible perspective and insight. And I will say, as the member of this panel that's closer to that 60 to 70 range, I would just say your observation around regret being such a powerful disincentive, and knowing your sense of passion and performance and potential, I think is really pretty remarkable. So what great advice for all of us. Thank you, Shasta.
Thank you, Roberta.
I mean, how do we even follow that? And that's so powerful. And Shasta, I don't think you can see right now all of the comments, but there are a lot, and people are very inspired by you. And I think that's something. I think my takeaway from what you said is we can all read all kinds of books and try to do everything, but it really comes down to a feeling and a gut and an emotion, and putting in a plan in place. And then doing that. And Roberta, I love the regret being a powerful incentive. Is that what you said? So wow, very, very powerful there. So I'm going to grab a couple of questions from the chat. Thanks everyone for all of your questions. And we obviously have some more questions as well for you, Shasta. So what have you learned on the course that also worked at the office in your time at PwC?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say accountability. That's a big one because I was working in a team setting. So, we had our project, but then you had your mini project that you needed to make sure that you completed to be able to get the big project done. And so there were moments where I'm running late and I need to get these extensions filed. I need to be able to hurry up and prepare these work papers that I need to send to my teammate. And so I made sure that I tried not to blame anyone else other than myself, and not in a negative way, but just taking ownership. Like, okay, like that was my fault. Like I'm on it, and I'm making sure I'm taking care of it, and not looking for outside reasons, to not be able to complete what it is I need to get done. And how I'm able to do that is because in golf, everything's on you. You may have a team around you, but your name is the one that's on the leaderboard. And so you got your caddy with you, and your caddy's like, listen, I think it's a 7-iron. And your gut, we're going back to your gut, it says 8-iron. And so you're like, okay, you're like on the fence and you go, all right, I'll go with the 7-iron. And no, excuse me, you go with the 8-iron and you hit it and it dunks in the water or what have you. You can't sit here and blame him because you made that decision. And you need to be like, you know what, that was my fault. You were right. I probably should have listened to you. I'm not going to blame you for putting, second thoughts in my mind. Like it's all on me. And so I would say that the accountability was the big one.
Wow, your name is on the leaderboard. Those are words to live by.
Yeah.
Okay, similar. Oh, go ahead. Did you have something else to add?
I was like, yes, I want my name on a leaderboard.
Yes, we're all cheering you on. Okay, so the interview process. So back to when you were interviewing with PwC, was the interview process more nerve-wracking than a big putt on tour?
You know what? It was actually more nerve-wracking because I first did a Skype interview. I had 2 interviews. And the first interview was with a Skype, and I did it at my dad's house, and my dog was there. And so I already knew we were going to have issues. And because it was like that odd time of the day where I knew the mailman hadn't arrived yet. And I was really worried. And I said, Dad, is it possible you can, take her downstairs to the basement? He was like, you already know it's not going to work. He's like, I'll do it. But, that was the nerve wracking part. But at all jokes aside, I was nervous, and it was because it was out of my element. I'd rather have a putt that I have to make the cut or to win a tournament. That actually, I feel more comfortable in that space. And that's because that was something I was familiar with. So if you interviewing all the time, I think you get used to the process of being comfortable in your own skin and knowing that, it's going to work or it's not going to work. And then you just move on to the next and not putting a lot of pressure on yourself.
Right. Okay. So switching gears a little bit again. So you were the 4th African-American woman to earn status on the LPGA Tour, which is outstanding. What an outstanding accomplishment. What does that mean to you?
So at the time, I had no idea. I understand my history and I understand golf history, but I also understand Black golf history. And at the time, I didn't process it until all these calls started coming in and these interviews and it finally, realizing that, okay, wow, you really did something um, remarkable, but it didn't feel like it because it felt like I was just playing golf. But once I sat back and digested everything, I realized that, that was when I was like, I'm not really playing for myself. I'm playing for people that were before me and my ancestors, Althea Gibson, Renee Powell, Larry Sugg. Like I was playing after them and essentially playing for them, and because they paved the way for me. And I really was incredibly overwhelmed, but with happiness, and just really embraced all of it and didn't shy away from it at all. And I'm a multiracial woman, okay, I mean, as you can tell, but I know that we here in America we identify if we have just 10% of Black in you, you're a Black person in America, and I understand that, but I didn't shy away from it because I know who I am. And at the end of the day, if it's going to inspire anybody to pick up a club and do the same thing later on in their life, then by all means, please do.
I know who I am. Wow. Another great insight. Okay, a question from the audience. The tour has been described as a bit of a traveling family. How have you gotten inspiration and resilience from your golf family?
So interesting enough, this year has been really great, even though, during the pandemic, obviously that as a whole hasn't been ideal, but out on tour this year, we have a lot more Black female golfers. And we all decided that we were going to just get together and just create some type of family structure, because it does get lonely out here and we're away from our families and our friends. And so we look at ourselves as, okay, we're sisters, so let's stay together. So we did Airbnbs at some tournaments when all of us were in the field, and we would cook with each other. We would, help each other out with stuff, help strategize for the course, um, roast each other, like just just really, it's the family unit. And then outside of that, when we're at the course, we have our own other friends, and we embrace them. We're like, hey, let's go to dinner, or grab some takeout. We can't actually right now, we can't even sit anywhere because of COVID, and because we're kind of in that bubble, like the NBA, WNBA, what have you. But we're like, hey, let's come grab dinner, let's come by the house or come to a hotel. And so it's something to look forward to, because playing golf and then you go back and you're by yourself all day, it can weigh on you after weeks after week.
I bet. And Roberta,
I was just going to tell the folks on the call today how Shasta and I had the opportunity to meet. Like a lot of entities in the aftermath of George Floyd's murder and the other tragedies this summer, the LPGA took a very hard look at itself. As Shasta said, the history of Blacks in golf is not a proud history. We have some incredible leaders and role models, but the numbers are still very small. And as people that love the game of golf and love what it opens up to us in terms of opportunity and insight and relationships, we know we can do better. And so the LPGA is very committed to being as intentional around the racial aspects of diversity as we have been about introducing women in the game. This will not be a quick fix. It'll be a generation commitment, if you will. But we have a long way to go. And the place that we started was with a conversation with Shasta and the other players that she mentioned, because they initiated that conversation with us in the most positive and constructive way that I've experienced in my professional career. So when you have that kind of commitment from your players, and when you have the kind of leadership that we have at the LPGA, I feel like we are just beginning this journey that will, in a very meaningful way, make a difference to racial diversity in golf. And I'm very proud to be a part of that.
And Roberta, thank you for your leadership, and we commend your leadership and the efforts of the LPGA and true focus on diversity and inclusion. And as you mentioned earlier, a lot of companies don't have it right yet, but you all are leading the way in that. So thank you very much. Shasta, anything else to add to that?
So we, as players, when we got together, we weren't sure what golf could do at first. We were just kind of like, okay, we just need to unite first, and we need to get some conversations going within our circle to figure out what have our experiences been, because we have not ever chatted about it, nor have we ever really united together. It was not something that we felt we could do in a way, because I'll reference something from that happened, I think, a few years ago. There was a moment at the Portland Classic where there was four of the ladies were playing, that were in the field, were playing that week, and that was historic. And there was a group picture that was taken, and they posted about it. And so you get the positive comments, but then you start seeing comments that are like, why do they have to be Black players? Why can't they just be Americans? Why do they have to separate themselves? And you look at it and you're like, okay, why are you making me feel so bad for gravitating to players that look like myself? Like all the other groups do the same thing. And it's like, why are we being shunned to do that. It didn't make sense. And so that's why we never just really got together until after George Floyd situation happened. And because all of us we were sick to our stomach. I know for a week, after I watched it, I was just horrified. And it was just, the emotions took over me where I was just like, I don't think this is not fair. Like we just saw, like it's still happening in 2020. We're still having these problems that are popping up every 20 or 30 years, and we're just not dealing with it. So that's when we got together and we're like, okay, let's reach out to LPGA, but let's figure out what are we asking for? What is the issues that we've had as collectively as a whole? And how can we, and not only just us, but how can we make it better for the players coming after us? Because that's really what it's about, because that's what the Renee, Althea, and Laree did for myself and us currently right now.
What an inspiration. What an inspiration. And I tell you, I go back to, I know who I am, and really grounding decisions and relationships and how you feel. And I know on behalf of all of us, we're just thankful for your transparency and sharing. And we all learned a lot today. I'm going to have a final question, and then I'll hand it over to Roberta for any final questions or thoughts. You've got a big week in Pinehurst. So tell us about what it feels like to be in Pinehurst and to play in Pinehurst this week.
So funny, I kind of want to share this. I thought it was funny leading up to this. So I had like a busy like 2 weeks with other things going on, like events going on in different locations. And so I kept checking the portal, and I saw that I was number 3 alternate. And I know that I had wrote for an exemption, and I was like, I wonder when they're going to, like, I'm looking at it, this still said invitee place. It was still empty. And I was like, okay, when are they going to make this decision? And I was like trying to make plans, and I'm like, I wonder if I'm going to get it. I'm like, maybe not. Was my season going to end? All these questions. Okay. So last week, I had a quick call with Blue Cross, and on the call, the invitation was extended, and so I maintained my composure best I could. But when I got off, when I got off the call, I was in the restaurant just like overwhelmed. The guy next to me was like, "What happened?" I was like, "I just got a invite." I was like, "Okay, that was my first one I wrote all year, and I got it. I'm 1 for 1." And so I look, and so I absolutely started looking at the fact sheet a little bit more, because I was like, okay, I just finished this event. Now let me start getting ready for Pinehurst. And I just realized, I was like, man, Pinehurst. I was like, you have never played there, and you've played golf forever. And I thought this was an amazing opportunity. I was so thankful, because I thought my season ultimately was going to end. And it's really felt good coming in last night. I drove in from Atlanta, and just the feels here, just being at Pinehurst, it just feels good here. And especially being on the East Coast in the fall, late fall. And I'm just really looking forward to going to course this afternoon and just really absorbing everything as a whole week.
Well, we are honored on behalf of Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina. Cannot be more honored to have you out there. Well, again, we'll be cheering you on. So I know we're going to wrap up here in a few minutes. Thank you, Shasta, for your time. Thank you for your insights. I think we've all taken a lot away from your story and your journey. And again, I think best way to say it, you're such an inspiration, and have such an awesome, exciting career ahead of you. And go Shasta. Roberta, any final thoughts?
Well, I'll just end where we started, and that is everyone on the call just now has had a chance to understand why we do what we do at the LPGA. And we do it for Shasta, and we do it for Haley, and we do it for the other 142 women that are teeing it up this week, and we'll do it the next. The ability to be part of the process when somebody chases a dream is really pretty special. And to Shasta, to all of the other athletes, Reagan, our sincere thanks to you for investing in them. And to everyone here today, I just have 2 final words: drive on.
Thank you. And now we are going to go back to, I have goosebumps, Roberta and Shasta. I want to go, I don't know what I want to go do, like hit a golf club or make a sandwich for Harper, but I'll drive on. It's a great wrap up for the day. Kiernan, back to you.
Thank you so much. That was very inspirational. Thank you so much. And I really feel like there was a great common thread throughout both our panel and this fireside chat of sort of resilience and grit. And, maybe COVID is giving us a gift of like taking a chance, and being sort of one of those risk takers like Angela. I wanted to thank Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina, our panelists, Shasta, and of course the audience that has tuned in. If everyone wouldn't mind, just please stay on for an additional minute to fill out a short survey. We'd love to hear what you would like to hear about in future events. Thanks again.